All right, so I woke up this morning to another bowl of ramen and defeat. Yesterday morning, Mello messaged me because she was sitting at the repair shop for her Promobile again. I didn't answer at the time. In fact, it would be an hour later before I even noticed that she had messaged me. And the reason for that is I don't even bother to look at my messages anymore or answer my phone or even look at my phone for anything other than see what you guys have posted in the comments. And even that, I don't reply very often anymore. Why? Because I don't care. That's really what it comes down to. I don't care anymore. I don't care about anything. In fact, right now I went over to look at my lizard and he's sitting in his cage right now, just hanging off of a branch with two of his arms, his upper arms. He's just hanging there with nothing to do. He's bored out of his mind. He doesn't want to eat. He's just sitting there, just staring off into space. He's staring at me, in fact, right now, wondering probably what I'm doing. I'd take him out of his cage, but every time I take him out, he wants to jump all over the place. But that brings me to this channel that was recommended to me this morning, and I think it's been recommended to me a few times, and it's called The Babbling Loner. 7.1 thousand subscribers, so it's a tiny channel. But he had a lot of truth. Reminded me a lot of my own channel. And in his latest video with 10,000 views, a rough life of defeat turns me into a pessimist. You know what turned me into a pessimist? Being born. When you're born into this kind of life, where you're going to live one long, mundane period, there's not going to be anything in this life that you want. As I say all the time, people like me don't meet other people. And it's something that was said in one of the scripts that I was working on, is that people can smell when you're a loser. They sense it in the way that you look at the world. They sense it in the way that you walk, you talk, you interact with daily life. I've never wanted to be alive 1 second of my entire adult life. Not one single second. Once I realized that food was expensive and that I had to put my own food in the refrigerator, I knew it was over. There is no fun to be had in this world if you're just a regular guy. Below average looking, not very bright, crappy job, crappy car, crappy house, even crappier neighbors that you don't even know. I could give you a vague description of anyone that lives around me, but nothing detailed. I don't really look at people anymore. I've noticed that the more that you look at people, the more it disappoints you on how average most people look. That's why we have these things called models. The ideal way that you should look and the way that women should look. And very few people can meet that standard. The rest of us are just fugly. It's like, well, if I'm not attractive enough for someone to want to approach me, then what else is there in life? And the worst part is that this isn't just a romantic attraction. In fact, the other day I was talking to ChatGPT and it mentioned something called non romantic curiosity. That's when a person looks at you, they're not interested in you, but they're kind of curious as to why you're so damn ugly. And they just look at you like looking at some sort of gargoyle creature. And that's the expression that I get all the time. With that said, let's transition into my script. You ever notice how every mental health awareness post ends with a reminder to drink water? Like hydration's gonna fix existential despair. Yeah, bro, I'm not dehydrated. I'm financially and emotionally bankrupt. They tell men to open up, but what's the point of being vulnerable in a world that charges late fees for feelings? Welcome to the modern epidemic nobody talks about, lonely man disease. If you've ever met a lonely man, it is a terrible thing to see. It's like a stray dog at the pound that nobody wants to adopt. You look at it, you feel bad for it, but you keep walking because no one wants these people. And there are tens of millions of these guys out there scratching themselves right now, wondering, well, something's got to give. Let me tell you this. I spent my entire life alone and my entire life working jobs that weren't worth it. Do you imagine that there might be a little correlation there between ugliness, despair, and low levels of employment? Where not even Walmart wants to hire you because you'll scare off the customers. Or you're weird and nobody wants to talk to you because you're weird. I've had, oh my God, I think I've had every Gen Z that's worked for me has been so unpopular at work that people ask me all the time, what's his name? Or why doesn't he ever talk? Or he's not invited to something. In fact, that happens all the time where they don't get invited to something and you're just like, yeah, sorry, dude. You're not invited. And it wears on people to be ostracized just because of the way that you are, the way that you look, and the way that you interact with the world. I feel this all the time. I'm going to be at the gym in about 50 minutes, and I'm going to feel it there so hard because I've gotten to the point at the gym where there are at least 5 to 6 different people now, not just individual women, but individual couples at this point, where if they're in the general area, I will walk to the other side of the gym just so that I don't have to be around them because they give me that look. And you're like, why do you keep looking at me like that? I mean, the gym is small. And like one of my friends said, the gym is so small, it makes me uncomfortable. Because no matter where you look in this gym, in the main area, you can see everyone. It's not like you're singling out a single person. Everyone can see everyone that's in that room. And if you're just looking forward, you can see 50 people. But some people take that as, oh, they're looking at me. It's weird. And you're like, no, it's not. But some people will internalize things like this, especially lonely men. I mean, you guys remember Gym Girl from a couple of years ago, right? That's how it started. She was always in the corner of the gym, and I was always working, I don't know, maybe 50 yards away from her. And I'd just be sitting there or standing there, just looking, just waiting between sets, and she'd just turn her head and look at me. And I was just like, I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at the gym. But that's the way it started. And suddenly I wouldn't see her, and then I'd turn my head and she would be right behind me. In fact, it got to the point where the last time I saw her, I was talking to my school teacher friend from the gym. And I said, Gym Girl won't leave me alone. And I kept turning my head. And I remember saying to her, it's like, well, she's probably going to pop up any time now. And I turned my head and she's right behind me. And I'm like, see? And I pointed at her and I said, look, she's right there. And I mean, she was maybe 10 feet away from me, right behind me on the treadmill while I was talking to her. And that was the last time I ever saw her. Once she realized that I was well aware of where she was, it was like that was her clue that I was never going to talk to her. In fact, in the 9 months in which she followed me around in the gym, I never spoke to her, not a single word, not a single time, and I wasn't going to. It's not that she wasn't attractive, it was just that it was strange. And most men have this strangeness about them that they can't do anything about. It's like lonely man disease turns you into a weirdo. And you don't talk, you just kind of glance around. Try not to look but don't stare is a big rule no matter where you go. Look but don't stare. Yesterday I was looking at something that was so terrible that I was just like, I was at Dick's Sports looking at some shoes, and I walked out into the parking lot and there was something there that I just can't even describe. I'm not even allowed to talk about it on this channel or on this platform. But I looked at the mom and I looked and I was like, how is that even allowed in this world? Talking point number 1. You don't even realize how bad it's gotten until you're paying rent for a room you hate, working a job that hates you back, and buying a $6 coffee to stay awake long enough to do it all again. We're all trapped in the affordable misery plan. Unlimited suffering, no benefits, cancel anytime, but you won't because you need the health insurance. That was awful. The affordable misery plan is what you call Pound Town now. When you wake up tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, you're going to get into your Promobile and go to affordable misery plan. In a sense, daycare for lonely men with no lives and nothing to aspire to. That is just awful. But the true reality of this miserable existence that we call being alive. I've never woken up once and thought, you know what? I'm alive. No. When I wake up in the morning, I walk in the living room, I look at my poverty home, and I think to myself, this is it. This is the best you're ever going to do. And then you climb back into bed and you think, no, I'm not getting up. I don't want to eat that. I don't want to put on those cheap clothes. I don't want to go to a job that frankly isn't even worth it. Like between the pay of the job and the misery, you ask yourself all the time, is it worth it? No, it's not worth it to work in America anymore. You're going to be broke regardless. One form of being broke involves walking the streets. Another form of being broke, it just has you getting in your car every morning and going to a place that you hate. It's like an ironic punishment. If hell were where we live right now, this is what it would be. Every morning you get up and you get in your car and you go to a place that hates you, that doesn't pay you enough money to live. You do the same boring thing all day long, and then you come home and you sit down in the dark, unable to afford to run the air conditioning that you need to keep yourself cool because you're broke. You can't put that on a Merck certificate, but it's real. They disappear slowly, one unreturned text, one unpaid week off, one job that keeps promising a promotion that never comes. The modern man disease isn't laziness, it's realizing that no one's ever coming to save you. Not the company, not the country, not even the algorithm. Most men are ignored by our society for a lot of different reasons. Number one being you don't have money. Number two, you're not generally attractive. Number three, you're not interesting. If you've ever talked to an ordinary person that you've never met before, you understand this. Most people are NPCs. The type of conversation that you will have with someone that's working at a gym, per se, they're sitting at a front desk. They don't want to talk to you. They're in their own little world. They have their earbuds plugged in and they're doom scrolling on TikTok. And you walk over and you say hello. The last thing they want to say is hello. But you're dripping misery, depression, and loneliness all over the floor when you walk through those doors. And she'll look at you and think, oh my God, not this again. Not this guy. And that's what every part of your life is like. You walk around in a world that doesn't want you, that doesn't like you, and for the most part, tolerates your existence, but wouldn't be upset if you weren't, if you didn't exist anymore. Like yesterday, by the time I got to the gym, because I wasn't feeling getting up yesterday morning, I had absolutely nothing to do, nothing to live for, nothing going on, and I just, for some reason, I just sat here. I looked at the clock and it was 8 a.m. and I'm like, oh, I got to go do that thing again. And so, routine. I think that's one of the biggest things that gets ordinary, miserable men through daily life is just routine. Regardless of whether or not you want to get up, you get up. You put on your prole clothes, you go do your prole-y things, and then you come home, you take off your prole clothes, and you sit here butt naked in front of the computer until it's time to go to sleep. Or like for me last night, I don't even know what happened. I was sitting here and then suddenly I wasn't sitting here. I've gotten to the point where I don't even shut off my computer at night because I don't remember to. I just get out of this chair and I go lay down. Pass out for 12 hours. Wake up. Look around. Feed the fish. Scratch my booty. Turn on the internet and start talking into a microphone. Remember, I usually don't have any idea what I'm going to say. This morning, this entire topic is just based on our YouTube recommendation and my final talking point here. You're supposed to smile through rising rent, performing gratitude on command, and call it mental health. Meanwhile, every corporation profits off your burnout, sells you medication apps to cope with it. Oh, excuse me, meditation apps to cope with it. The system breaks you, then sells you affirmations to thank it for the experience. I think most men are broken, and most men I think are broken beyond repair. I don't think America can be fixed anymore. I don't think that the economy can be fixed. I don't think anything about this world can be fixed. If you're not rich, it's going to suck. Until they put you in the ground, life is just going to suck. Like I ended my video yesterday. Enjoy the suck. Because that's all there is. Good jobs, not going to happen for guys like you. Hot women, nope. Nice cars, not a chance. All you have is to enjoy the little bits and pieces of working at the Dollar Tree. The occasional anonymous flesh that you get to see. And that's it. You go home, you tickle yourself, and that's it. That's life on a stick. It's not real. I mean, every morning that I wake up, I tell myself this isn't real. Life can't possibly be this miserable. I can't possibly be this broke. I can't possibly be this depressed. But I am. And I know that if you're listening to this right now, chances are you understand everything that I've just said. This is 20 minutes of common sense, as someone called it. Every day you come here to listen to me talk. And I'm not lying. And you know that. And that's what hurts you the most. That's what crushes your soul when you get to the end of one of my videos. Is that you know as well as I do that nothing will ever change. Our circumstances continually get worse. The Cheeto in chief is ensuring that his authoritarian plan continues as scheduled. No one's saying anything. That's the worst part, is no one is doing anything about it, which means that we've all given up. We've all accepted the boot on your face forever. And I mean, it feels like we were just being trained to accept this. Through my favorite books, which is 1984 and Brave New World, it seems like we were engineered to be docile, to not care, to accept life as being miserable. The affordable misery plan was always what was going to happen to you. There was no way to escape to a better life. You can't just decide that I'm not going to work for minimum wage tomorrow. There's nothing you can do about that. If you've been a minimum wage worker your entire life, you are going to continue to be so because there's nothing special about you. You're not charming. You're not handsome. You're not anything special. And I came to that conclusion a long time ago, is that the less you stand out, the easier it is that you become a background character in a world that's full of background characters. That's why we go on the internet and we look at pictures, because our own lives aren't worth talking about. They're not worth living. They're not worth anything. The average day of the average person is so unmemorable that, as I say all the time, I try to forget everything that happened before. You live in the moment because you don't have a future in this world. And hell, you don't even have a past. Think about the last time you thought you were actually happy, and I can't remember that. And that goes for a lot of us. We will never find any sense of happiness. All life will be misery and pain. And if you want to be optimistic and fill your head with affirmations and toxic positivity, you can do that. I know a lot of people that do that. In fact, I used to have this friend who'd tell me, it's like, MillennialSteam, you're too miserable. I can't be around you. And I'm like, okay, then you can go be somewhere else and we never have to talk again. And it's been 7 weeks now. Why? Because this person wanted me to blow smoke up their butt. Tell them how great everything is and how things are getting better in the economy and that there's going to be some great job waiting for them once they get out of school. If I had a penny for every time I heard that while I worked at Walmart, it's like, once I get out of school, everything's going to be amazing. And then they get out of school and they're still working there. And you look at them and you ask them about, hey, is everything okay? You got out of school, and they just look at you and they look down and they walk away because they come to the realization that everything that they had hoped for when they got out of school isn't real. They're still living at their parents' house. They're still alone. And if you don't have money to have fun, you're stuck. You're sitting in the dark with me right now, looking at your lizard that's looking at you.